This timing coming out of Kiwian, his natural's going to get delayed, but he's going to run right into the main base where there is nothing here. And unlike the other side where you can overcharge some bombs, you can't really do that. And we can see that Beryllium Claw's active. All the imps are suddenly so much slower. They're taking so much damage. That purple aura around them. Bottom left in the purple, playing Infernals. It's MaNA. And in the upper right in the blue, the winner of Alpha 1, the Vanguard player, Kiwian, or Top, as you may know him. As of course, early on, as one does, you're going for a bit of a scout. Bit of a scout here. You get the scout unit for free, so putting it across the map, getting maybe some pressure on the imps, but that's unlikely. You just want to know what your opponent's going for. Is MaNA going for a single vault opening to expand? Is he going double vault? Is he gonna get pretty aggressive? These are all questions that can and should be answered as we get on into this game. But for now, Scout's just being annoying and forcing some micro out of MaNA. But because of the white health in particular, it's unlikely that he's gonna get everything. Yeah, it's a little bit of inefficiency because imps are pulled off the line, and well, because of how the economic scaling in Stormgate works, because it's max 12, not max 16, losing mining is a little bit annoying, but we got things on the ways. MaNA's taking his natural pretty quickly, but more scouts going to join up, and you'll notice this first scout of Kiwian back up to full HP. It ate one of the health fruits. I'm actually not sure if that has a name just yet, but it ate one of the health fruits that just gives you right back up. So once we get up to 3 or 4 scouts right now, that's going to give some pretty significant map control for Kiwian. They do really nice damage against some of the creep camps, not all of them, but certainly some of them. And even more importantly than that, they will be able to go and interrupt this creeping coming out early for MaNA in the middle of the map. That resource camp with a single brute, it's not really going to get what it wants. And look at the body blocking here coming out of MaNA as well, or out of Kiwian as well, trying to make sure that this doesn't go back home, or if it does, it's going to turn into a fiend. And again, that's theoretically resources lost. It's not the end of the world, because if you keep them on white health, they won't die. But it is going to be a little bit annoying, and certainly Kiwian, for his troubles, he's bought himself in the middle of the map. He's gotten 2 resource camps. Really, well, it's only going to take the 1, but he can get the 2nd, and then vision camps behind, which, oh man, that's such a big deal. And we do have to point out that Kiwian is on a 1-base expand build behind this. I'd love to know what's coming out of the biokinetics lab. This might be a dog claws opening, Beryllium Claws, to just do that significant bonus damage to light units, maybe fight the imps just a little bit better. But for now, he's got the vision camp, so it's a little bit harder for MaNA to do what MaNA would like to do, which means total map control here. Both resource camps go down. Probably both vision camps. And ooh. Okay, just a scout. Oh, okay, this is pretty cool. Opening up the back door early. Okay, so one of the cool things you can do in zero space, or not zero space, excuse me, in Stormgate, is that you can knock trees down. So it enables some pretty cool attack paths opening, where you go, you run across, you open up an attack path, and then suddenly it's a bunch of Beryllium Claw scouts running across the map early on. But for now, imps are going to try to intercept things. As this natural's on the way, this is a lot of pressure coming out of MaNA. 3 brutes, 2 more imps, and well, all the dogs are on the map. So this timing coming out of Kiwian, his natural's going to get delayed, but he's going to run right into the main base where there is nothing here. And unlike the other side where you can overcharge some bombs, you can't really do that. And we can see that Beryllium Claw's active. All the imps are suddenly so much slower. They're taking so much damage. That purple aura around them means it's a problem. And this build coming out of Kiwian, it's one of the things you looked at when the most recent build came out. Oh, this might be viable. Getting all the scouts early on, getting that bonus damage to light is really cool. He wipes out pretty much the entire Luminite line. Yeah, eventually these scouts, they may get dealt with. Look how quickly the imps die. Look at how quickly the imps die. Yeah, do they kill the brutes? Not particularly fast. But they do get the imps. And well, the scouts eventually, even as heavily, not even as heavily upgraded, as heavily veteraned as they are, they're going to be forced out eventually. Brutes are too strong. They can't fight them particularly well. But yeah, you force more brutes, you force more fiends. And MaNA's got 2 bases. But he's only running up 1, and that is such a big deal here with how the economy scales in Stormgate. And yeah, you know, MaNA did delay the natural of Kiwian a little bit. He did prevent that from happening. He did shut it down. It was a cancel, luckily not a kill. So that will be behind. But even still, the economy of MaNA is just so shattered. Now, I love what MaNA did there. He dropped the meat farm on the left side. That means that there was no way out. The only way out was through the front, and that's past another meat farm. That just does not feel good. So MaNA's on 3 bases, but he's only really mining from one of them. Meanwhile, second command post is done for Kiwian. He's got a sentinel sentry post on the way. He's got exos out, and of course, man, the exo sentry post is just by far the best one. Splash damage, longer range. Gonna pop in just in time, but you run right on by it. Overcharge gets popped for really no value whatsoever. So the bombs have to be overcharged. One will fall. And this is probably not quite as powerful as the Lancer or as the scout timing that we saw coming out of MaNA or out of Kiwian. But it's still it's still pretty nice. And with the exo count here, it's not all that big. Gonna run away. Fiends are gonna get this round on one, but kiting away here. Yep, and they're dead. And they are dead because the Fiends, as strong as they are, as much damage as they do, they definitely don't last forever off Shroud. They lose health at about 1 health per second. So what that means is expect Kiwian to heal this exo, but apparently he's not going to. There's a time, unless they go back on Shroud. Fiends last about 60 seconds. They have about, I want to say about 60 HP, and then, well, you do the math, right? You lose health at 1 HP per second. You got 60 HP. Well, it's very easy. As dogs there, of course, popping one of their abilities to get high ground vision. That means this Shroud Stone will go down, and now we're bunkering up the natural. The Sentinel post is going to go down. And yeah, the exos are taking, they don't kill things particularly quickly at the moment. Eventually, this base will be unmineable. So MaNA's going to look for the break right now before the Sentinel post is done. But man, the exos are in such a nice spot. And, well, I don't know if this is going to get up in time, though. Exos have to run away. Dogs kiting away here. Sentinel post is going to be done very, very soon. It's going to be done right now, but you got to pop into it. There we go. 1 exo, and the splash damage is down. And the repair is there. MaNA, he's going for the break, but I don't think he makes this break happen. Not nearly enough. And even if he does, it's so much inefficiency. It's so expensive. MaNA's going to lose just about everything. Yeah, eventually, we're going to see the Fiends get popped here. But look at the scouts. They're doing so much. The X are trying to stay alive, and it will. And yeah, the Sentinel post went down. But just look at the losses. Now, luckily for MaNA, because of how the Infernals work, you have charges on your production structure. You can build multiple imps, multiple brutes, multiple fiends. Well, fiends come out of brutes, but multiple of anything you want at the same time. So we can see, well, MaNA's economy was shattered. He lost half his imps pretty quickly. He's at 8 out of 12 here on the natural. He's 7 of 12 on the third base. He's on 3 bases properly. Kiwian's only on 2. So even though MaNA did take that damage, and he absolutely did, it was not a good situation for him. Not the least of which because that pressure from Kiwian was really good. Even without that, MaNA has found some way back into this game. Just a tiny bit, although these roots are going to be rapidly found out. Do we have double time? No, not quite yet. So the exos are not quite as powerful as they could be. No upgrades on the Lancers as well. The Fiends, again, they're just going to be forced to run away, which means Kiwian's not going to chase this down. There's a Shroud Stone at the natural. It's got plenty of energy to drop an Infest on top of things. But more importantly, that means that it's not the easiest thing to break. It's not the easiest thing to break our Infernal player right now. He's got the Shroud Stone at the natural. You got that free Infest. You can drop a free second Shroud Stone if you need to. It's not the best spell, but you can certainly go for it. And MaNA fully set up on 3 bases right now, and no advanced command post from Kiwian at the moment. So no scouting available, no tier 2 available right now. Just really all in on this bio idea, on this heavy map control idea. And there's the double time. That now means that when the X's attack, they attack faster. It's kind of a ramping thing. So that does mean that this army from Kiwian is strong, absolutely, but it's got a bit of a timing. If MaNA can get up to the greater shrine, I think he might have it. Yeah, he's got it in the natural. There we go. Magmadons are done. Exos are strong in the early game. They do a lot of damage, but Magmadons, they're beefy boys. They get on top, they stun, they splash every 3rd hit. You add an Infest on top of that. You have these Gaunts as well. And this army that Kiwian is building is rapidly aging out. So yes, he's on 5 barracks. There's a scrapyard on the way. but you really, it does feel like you want to see a move into some more mech builds behind this. Get, obviously not hedgehogs. We're kind of done from that right now, but move into a couple Vulcans, add in some Atlases, get some medtechs at the very least to increase the longevity of this army. Because Kiwian will get to a point here on this Lancer, on this bio composition, this Lancer Exo composition, where Gaunt Magmadon is going to shred you. Once the Gaunts have the upgrade, which means, yeah, they take a little damage, sure, they hurt themselves. It's effectively stim for Gaunts. No healing. That absolutely is a thing. But once they pop that, they move faster, and they apply the infest. So additional damage over time. You can see the Fiends start to go, and, well, you can see the Fiends start to snowball, and it gets really, really awkward. Now, that being said, there are medtechs on the way. MaNA's got this army in the middle of the map, and this is not where Kiwian wants to be, I don't think. He's going to try, I mean, if he can get the speed camp, that actually would make a pretty significant difference. It's a significant DPS buff, but instead, he's just running around on down, maybe going to try to knock this shrine down. But he's in such an awkward spot because MaNA's here. MaNA's on the map, and he's going to run right through the trees and on into the main base. Kiwian, what you going to do? It's kind of a base trade. He's going to get the shrine on the bottom side, but the entire army of MaNA's here into the natural. Yes, there is the Sendal post, but it's not very strong right now. There, the infest is in fact gonna get dropped. So we're gonna see a bunch of Fiends get spawned off of these units as they run away. Tons of economic damage as the Bobs have overcharge, sure, but the splash damage is not as powerful as it once was, and now the Fiends on top of everything, and there are so many of them that there is zero shot that even if the overcharge Bobs, zero shot that they stay alive. Magmadons, their armored units, Exos don't do any sort of anything against that, so it is this base trade. So many Fiends on the other side as well. It does feel here that despite the damage the MaNA took early, Kiwian lost track of the army. He didn't know where things were, and then all of a sudden this army that Kiwian has made is not winning on this side of the map, not quite winning on the other side of the map, and in the grand totality of things, it is far worse for MaNA. There we go, infest down. Magmadon looking for that third splash shot, and the stuns in as well, although the overcharged Bobs are pretty dang good, even with the splash damage, even with the infest play. So for now, we're gonna have to wait a little bit. Magmadons get in once again, big stun, but again, it's just not a ton of damage at the moment. So MaNA has dealt with the army back at home. He's trying to do what he can to this army on this side of the map. The healing on the medtechs is keeping things alive, and Kiwian is alive. It's not pretty. It's pretty painful. But Kiwian has bought the time that he needs. He's going to resaturate the third base. His fourth base has been mining pretty much the entire time. And remember, MaNA did lose this right side shrine. And certainly there's the command post, the upgraded command post, the central command available now. So Kiwian was aware. He did drop that scan, knows that, yeah, there's the fourth base up once again, knows where the army is. But at this point, you got to figure the supply of MaNA is going to be so much higher than the supply of Kiwian. And while overcharge on Bobs is good, it's not everywhere. It's not available everywhere all at once. And certainly only 6 Bobs are not enough to break this down. So Sentinel post goes down very quickly. Another base falling for our Vanguard player. And especially with the Magmadons on top of this, this just becomes very difficult to fight. We don't have the tech that we're looking for from Kiwian. And I hate to say I told you so, but we pointed this out a bit earlier on. This army that Kiwian made was great in the early game. Once you get to Magma Gaunt, it is not nearly as strong. So Vulcans are out now, and they do a tremendous amount of splash damage. The Gaunts can absolutely get heavily beaten down if the Vulcans get into range, but they do have to get into range. So for now, we're seeing the Vulcans slowed down, or the Magmadon slowed down just a little bit. There we go, dash on top. No secondary one, not just yet in the Vulcan taking half damage. Here come the Fiends on top, and there's no splash damage. Not primed up, not just yet. The Lancers are good, but you don't have that Vulcan that you're really looking for. And this is the time on top as well. The Magmadon comes sailing through the sky, and this infest spell doing so much here. Now, it's a little hard to see what's happening, of course, because we don't have all the effects in the game. But those spinny energy units, that's not the Bobs being overcharged so they don't die. That's, yeah, absolutely. That's on the Exos. That's on the Lancers. That's their upgrades popping. And at the end of the day, Kiwian he's going to take our first game here. MaNA falls off the tremendous, or MaNA beats Kiwian off the tremendous run by. That's game one. Bottom right, into the purple. Up a game, there we go. Up a game in the series, his name, of course, it's MaNA. Upper right, in the blue, playing Vanguard. Great opening, but not good enough. It's Kiwian. As of course, again, we'll see the scout on the map again. It's a vault opener. Nothing particularly greedy coming out of MaNA in this game. But one thing you'll notice, compared to what a lot of players were doing early on, is that while we have this vault opening, absolutely, and we see the scout harass as well, we're not seeing the safety meat farm, which is something a lot of players were doing because, well, you have to actively micro your imp to make sure it doesn't go down. And if you just have a meat farm in time, the hell hogs will, or excuse me, the fell hogs will make sure that really there's not that many issues. So for now, it does help, of course, that the scout is not nearly as tanky or not quite as strong as it once was. So you can get away with getting the natural down. And behind this again, we're gonna see multiple scouts popping out of Kiwian, but this time he's not rallying nearly as quickly. He's keeping them back at home for the time being, so he can have a bit stronger of a push. As MaNA taking advantage of Jagged Maw, taking advantage of the fact that we're not gonna use that. Taking advantage of this fact that you can take an alternate route and the fiends will get across. So if your opponent is, say, taking a resource camp and two of the scouts are pretty low, maybe you can knock something down, find some value, and certainly you can figure out that this is still a one-base build coming out of Kiwian, and it's this, oh, that's such a beautiful scout for MaNA. He knows what's happening now. He sees the biokinetics labs down, he sees that there's no natural, he knows that there's a barracks here and says, ah, okay, it's the scout build again, Virillium Claw Rush. And this is also one of those maps where that build can still be very strong. Scouts can also run through the trees. Scouts can also go and take two paths around the map. It can be maybe a little bit easy to lose track of things. So for now, interesting deviation. It was a double vault opening for MaNA in game one. He went and got vaults, and he had an army, but it wasn't good enough. This time, it's going to be a 1-1 conclave, vault conclave opening. So moving into those gaunts as quick as possible, which is such an interesting decision because, well, scouts do bonus damage to light units. Gaunts are light. Scouts don't kill brutes particularly quickly, but they do kill gaunts really nicely. That being said, with splash damage, gaunts can get on top of scouts as well and knock them down. So I think the gamble, really, the gamble that we're seeing MaNA make is, okay, well, I'm going to be really safe on two bases. I got a Shroud Stone down. I've got a meat farm down. It's going to be rather hard for you to go and properly deal with this. But look at this. Oh, I love this. We saw the bunker rush coming out of Kiwian in game one. Game two, he's going for the same. Bunkering up the high ground, or Sentinel posting up the high ground with an Exo as well. Getting that high damage Sentinel post as quick as possible. But these fiends on the other side, not a lot to defend. A single Exo's out, and it's on the rally, so it should go down very quickly. In fact, there we go. Bob Overcharge has to get popped, and now MaNA knows that there's nothing at home, so there's maybe something on the other side. Sentinel post on the way. Shroudstone defensively. Fiends are going to get put on top of this, and it's only the single Exo that's here. That's not a lot. This army coming out of MaNA should be enough to, well, I'm sorry, the second Exo. Looking to target down. Sentinel post now done, now ready. Exos get inside of it. Look for that splash damage, and the dogs as well. The scouts trying to buy the time that they need for this Sentinel post to be as strong as possible. And it seems like it will get up in time. It will be okay. Meat farm about halfway done, but taking a ton of damage. And these gaunts as they arrive. I mean, just look at the splash damage. This Sentinel post is unbowed. It's unbroken. And this is just so fantastic for Kiwian right now. Big difference compared to game number one. In game one, we saw Kiwian go, and it was a big scout run by. It was a significant scout run by. It got about 1 mineral line worth, but MaNA eventually came back. He used the charges on his shrines to make sure that things were going to go all right, or that he was able to re-imp, rebuild his workers as quickly as possible. This time, with this double Sentinel post on the high ground, with this double Exo play here, yeah, reinforcements will take a while to show up. This has got range. The Shroud Stone is within range. It's going to eventually get knocked down. And now we can see the scouts get repaired, getting a little bit more vision because well, the bobs are right there. And of course, you want the scouts because they give you a little bit more range. You can see what's happening. So the Shroud Stone will fall. MaNA's getting ready for some level of surround, I assume. And there we go. Here comes the next wave. But again, it's double Sentinel Post. Now, you'd love to have triple, but for now, it's just double Sentinel Post. Fiends are going to try to get on top, but they're getting splashed down once again. The Sentinel Post will get canceled. But again, MaNA unable to break this. And behind this, Natural's just about done. Third Sentinel Post back at home. So Kiwian is going to be okay. Now the Fiends are going to try to wear this down because they know all the bobs are working on the third Sentinel Post. And that means it will fall down. Repair is not there in time. And the Exo is dead. So you're not going to have double Sentinel Post anymore. But even still, the one that's getting built, it's getting tons of value. And by the way, these bobs are getting veterancy. They're lasting just a little bit longer. Dogs now running forward. So that's maybe a bit of a problem. They will go down, but they're just buying time for this Sentinel Post to continue to do its dirty work. And now Sentinel Post is ready. It's a repair beam, the Repair-O-Matic, but I mean, ideally you like to do some damage. It's going to get repaired here. Can't repair itself, and it will, I think. Oh, it's not going to go down. The repairs are good. No, never mind. I lied. The flat cannon, though, still here, still doing great. And more Exos arrive, more Bobs arrive. And ever so slowly, it's weird looking at this because it feels like MaNA should have enough to break it down. The repairs are just good enough, and the damage being done by this Sentinel Post is so strong. But we should point out what MaNA's doing here. He's doing something that is very part and parcel, very key to how just Infernals are designed. And that it's just wave after wave after wave of Infernals trying to break this down. And he's buying so much time because, yeah, the Infernals are going, and he's losing imp after imp, fiend after fiend, brute after brute, Falhog after Falhog. Oh, it doesn't really cost much. But he's buying the time to get these meat farms down. We got another one on the way with 5 meat farms. It feels like, well, I was gonna say it feels like maybe, but we got the Repair-O-Matic going. It's keeping everything nice and topped up here. Maybe a second one as well on the way. And these things just aren't dying. This Repair-O-Matic is doing so much, and because of just the flat cannon that's here available and the extra Exos. Well, the Felhogs aren't doing any damage to the Repair-O-Matic. It's just not doing anything, which means that the Repair-O-Matic can keep this Sentinel Post repaired. It can keep scouts repaired if they need to, and eventually the Repair-O-Matic's gonna get repaired by the Bobs, and we got another wave on the way, but this wave not as strong, not really. And by the way, Sentinel Post now just about done. Exos behind. Repair-O-Matic will fall down, but we got a second Sentinel Post ready once again. Well, I think it is. And this thing's taken forever to complete. Now it's done. Now there's that second Sentinel Post, and the repairs are there, and I think at this point, Kiwian has broken MaNA. The meat farms are done. Kiwian's got his third base on the way. MaNA still on 2. And the crazy thing about this is you would think that MaNA would attempt some sort of run by, some sort of counterattack, because he knows that there is so much, there are so many resources allocated on this high ground push with the, I think, the 5 Sentinel Posts that have been made and the Exos and the Bobs that have been committed. So you would think that you would see MaNA maybe build a bunch of Fiends, run across, do something. But he knows that if this pressure is allowed to continue unabated, it will be a problem that is unsolvable. Now, Shroud Stone's done, and this is going to be MaNA's break opportunity. He gets on top of the first Sentinel Post. It wasn't ready. It wasn't done yet. Second one now, getting damage done to it as well. But with the 2 Sentinel Posts right here, with the 2 flat cannons firing away, well, maybe MaNA actually breaks this down, runs back just a little bit forward, as now the second level of veterancy on this Exo, plus 30 health, plus 10% damage. Well, I guess plus 20% overall, plus 100 HP. But it will go down anyways. So the Fiends, they break this down just a little bit. Again, the Sentinel Posts are still here, but they've been broken back. And this buys MaNA some time. He's got to wait for more charges on the Vaults. He's got to wait for more charges on the Conclaves to really make sure this flat cannon stealing some resource camps from MaNA. So he's going to pull it away. It's going to be okay. But now we got a lot more Exos, and I think they might have double time. I would imagine by this point they might. No upgrade on the way, certainly. But I'm not seeing the upgrade proc, so that's not ready just yet. That is some value that is lacking. Look at this. Sitting here, this rank 2 veteran Bob doing so much. The Magmadons are going to try to get on top of this, but again, double flat cannon firing away. Fiends, they will kill another sentinel post. But look what's happening here. Now we do have to point out as well that MaNA cast one of the different spells, and actually I can't remember what it's called, unfortunately. But one of the spells, so you have Infest out of the Shroud Stone. You have a spell that allows you to drop another Shroud Stone within 10 units, I think it is, of this Shroud Stone. But you can drop another one that increases the range of Shroud around your Shroud generating structure. So around your shrines, around your Shroud Stones. And it also increases white health regeneration rate. So MaNA, we saw him pop that for a little bit to make sure his Magmadon stayed alive. It almost didn't, and now he's got an opening through the middle of the map here. How's this counterattack gonna go? What do we have? We got 3 Lancers, a flak turret, something on the way being built in the mech bay, probably a Vulcan. For this counterattack from MaNA, it's not going to be enough. You have recognized there with the Lancers with their upgrades and the flat cannon, and of course overcharge possible, mass repair. He wasn't really going to be able to make the break happen. So now it's 3 flat cannons. Jeez. Rank 3 champion Bob, plus 30% weapon damage, plus what is that? 72 HP, and now yeah, this Shroud Stone's dead. So less positioning available, less. If you're MaNA, you want to make sure you have at least 1 Shroud Stone. That's very important. Okay, so he's going to cast another Shroud Stone down, and cast the spell that means that you have a little bit more white health regen. That your Shroud exists a little bit further on the map, but it's going to go down very quickly, just the same. So this Shroud Stone, that was a lot of anima, about 100 anima. Just spent trying to keep things alive, and that Shroud Stone's dead very quickly. So MaNA, again, not in the best spot. And we have to point this out as well. When you do this, when you go and you spend the anima on the Shroud Stone, you spend the anima to make your Shroud go a little bit wider, you spend the anima to make it last a little bit longer, those are suboptimal spells. Those are spells that are not getting you, or rituals, I guess, that are not getting you up to the Flayed Dragon, if that's where you want to, that's where you'd like to get eventually, which is very strong. But that's not getting you there. It's not getting you, it's not an Infest spell, which can snowball fights, do damage over time. It's all about keeping your army alive, but not necessarily doing damage, and it's just, and I think in most situations, it's not quite as optimal. But here we go. Once again, the break going to try to happen. There are 4 flat cannons here. Random Hedgehog on the backline. It's not going to do it really a ton. Fiends trying to get on top of this. 1 flat cannon goes down. 2nd flat cannon goes down. And finally, it seems like MaNA has the break that he needs. Finally, this is going to go down. But man, look at this army. Kiwian's got a lot on the map ready to go. That being said, with Magmadons on the field, with Infest available, because again, that was a lot of anima that was just farmed. I don't know. By the way, MaNA took the double Luminite 3rd base, so he does have some value there. Although, man, look at these teams. They're just going to get shut down immediately. Magmadon kited away again. Very nice there, MaNA. And now we got to point this out. Both the Lancers and the Exos, they got their upgrades. He plays high ground, low ground, high ground, low ground. But even still, yeah, it's going to keep the Magmadon alive. This base is dead. This base is absolutely a goner. Kiwian was aware of it for just quite a bit at this point, dropping the sensor drone on top of it. So this shrine will fall. No mining there. And if we look at the main base, we don't know. Of course, we can't click on how much is in the Luminite line. Not yet. But MaNA, you got to figure he's going to start to mine out pretty quickly at this point. We're 14 minutes in. Kiwian's on 4. He's on 4 bases. MaNA's on 2. Just the economy is not really there. And now Vulcan's going to start to spin up. Magmadons are going to do what they can. But even with the Infest on top, these units are so tanky. And there are so many of them that the Shroud Stone will fall. The Magmadons, they're being ignored at this point because everything else matters just a little bit more. MaNA's dead. Kiwian, this time the hard push worked. And we are going to go to game number 3 as everything's finally dead. Now it's game 3, tied up bottom left. His name, of course, is Kiwian. And to the upper right, in the red, representing the Infernals, your DreamHack Show Match champion, It's MaNA again with a vault opener. Just seems like how he's playing. We're not seeing any particularly greedy openers, any any shrine first openers. So that's gonna be that. But look at what we see. This is pretty cool actually. On Secluded Drove, and we see this right here. There are plants on the map that not only there's some healing plants around. I think actually I'm not even sure if there are. I don't remember, but there are mineral plants. So we see Kiwian. He finds the Luminite, he finds the Therium on the right side, which will speed things up, and he also knows that it's mirrored. So if there are plants here bottom right, there will also be plants here in the upper left. So he's gonna, instead of killing creep camps early, which is something, he's gonna go and he's gonna get he's gonna get himself a couple extra resources. It's only about 40 Luminite, it's only about 20 Therium. But if we're talking about builds, that's just about getting an extra worker. That can be a pretty nice speed buff speed up in the early game. And yeah, his scout's going to get slowed down just a little bit, but not by a ton. And then if we talk about this map as well, this is a pretty wide open natural. This is very much a setup where it's hard to bunker down as much as Jagged Maw is. You can't cover it quite as easily with a single Shroud Stone. But the interesting thing that I'm seeing here coming out of MaNA, or coming out of Kiwian pretty consistently, is that he's not going for the Hedgehog opening that we saw that became very, very popular in the previous beta before the beta went down. Instead, it's for these. He's going for these mass scout, these biokinetic openers, these biokinetic slab openers. Whether it's for a bunch of scouts, whether it's for an early flat cannon rush. A bunch of pretty cool things in MaNA. Again, he's got to brood out on the map early. They killed the chickens well enough, and more importantly, it's kind of hard for dogs to deal with them. But hedgehogs are going to be very okay with that one. So that's a wasted brute. That's 100 Luminite down the drain. And yeah, maybe you can make some fiends, but you could still you're going to be able to cut against that. So MaNA playing, or excuse me, Kiwian playing the beta build. And by the way, this is one base. This is one base hog, not two base hogs. So certainly, from that perspective, you do have to we need to slow that down. Certainly, being one base hog, not two base hog, you do want to get a little bit more damage done, but it does make it harder for the Infernal player to take the third base. That's what Kiwian's opting for. He's going to get himself up to 4 or 5 hedgehogs, and then probably take his natural, then go from there. But this has been pretty solved for the most part at the highest level. You get a couple Shroud Stones actually. We see Meat Farm buffering the Shroud Stone a little bit. You put it out of the front, you get 6 to 8 gaunts out pretty quickly, and we should see the Conclave on the way pretty soon. Because again, brutes are horrible. They're beefcake, sure, but they don't do much. You will lose them. But for now, it's actually it's triple vault. Anna must know something I don't. It's triple vault. Okay, that's what he's gonna do. I was gonna say it's triple vault against the hedgehogs, and the meta a month ago was you go conclave pretty quickly. You get the gaunts up. They actually can fight against the hedgehogs. Once their upgrades are done, you're fine. But MaNA just says, yeah, if you're on this side of the map, you're not on the other side of the map. So, or Fiend's on the run by, but Overcharge gets popped for now, and this just buys more time as the Fiends slowly but steadily lose their HP. But oh, getting on top of this would be massive. So instead, it's going to be the second Overcharge popped, and this means that once the Overcharge is done, run bys are going to be a lot easier to find. So forcing getting on top of the mech bay this early on, if he snipes this down, this is massive here. But Kiwian is very confident that will not happen. So the Fiends will eventually get knocked down. Overcharge lasts for such a long time. This Fiend dead in 6 seconds. So really not going to do much there. This has been a nice bit of a pressure release valve for MaNA by committing those 8 brutes on the run by. He didn't get a ton, but he did force Kiwian back home, and that meant that, well, we got Shroudstone, Meat Farm, really nicely here, a bunch of brutes. And again, we're going to see that run by as MaNA commits to being inefficient, certainly, but he's keeping his opponent back home. And oh, this is annoying. This scout from earlier on denying this third base for he's not going to get it. But he's denying the scout or he's denying the third base for quite a while. And because of the hog opener as well, that does force MaNA to take the more defensive third base, which doesn't feel very good at all. It's okay, but you really would love to have triple Luminite or a triple Therium, because the composition that you want to go for against this mass hog idea, because, well, generally, theoretically, the Vanguard player is going to go into mech behind that. They're going to have Vulcans pretty quickly. They're going to have some pretty powerful units. You'd like to get into Gaunts, and then you would like to get into Machmadons. It's Gaunt Machmadon. And that is an that is a tremendously Therium expensive play. So for now, well, it's gonna force more fiends out of the brutes, which again is inefficiencies for MaNA, but his third base is cheaper. It will be up, actually not as fast, because overbuild on the Bobs is really, really good. So we're looking at mass brutes right now. Finally, there's a conclave. Finally, we're getting those conclaves added in, as we are now, of course, on the Greater Shrine, which will, of course, unlock eventually if you get the right upgrades, which will unlock the brutes, or which will unlock the Machmadons, which are kind of the. It's weird because they're kind of the end all be all. Is, by the way, look at this. So for those of you that have been paying attention to the Kickstarter, we got a sneak peek of what the hedgehog would look like, of the art for it. But it's kind of cool that we have the unit portrait of the hedgehog in here, and we can see what it looks like from there. Like what we can see the final rendering, not the game just yet, but you can see it on the art itself. But now MaNA, he's taking his third base, pretty happy with how things are going. He's kept himself very safe. So you crack open the Therium. Ideally, you're cracking this as quickly as possible so you can get these enriched Therium deposits that mine. You get back more per trip, which is fantastic. It really does speed you up a little bit, and the longer that's a function of time. So the longer the Therium is on the map, the more enriched deposits you get. But oh, hedgehogs onto the Luminite line here. Now they can't fight in range of the Shroudstones easily. They're not particularly tanky, so you got to be careful about that. But MaNA counterattack on the other side. That is so many brutes. These Lancers are not enough. They don't have their upgrades yet. The Pop Overcharge is strong. Not that strong. Not quite enough. So hedgehogs are going to deny the third base, but this run by, well, this counterattack coming out of MaNA is something that you got to be careful of. For now, it seems like the overcharge. I mean, just look how little damage these bombs are taking. It's functionally nothing. Certainly now the hedgehogs are going to be trapped into a corner right now. Fiends aren't going to kill them super quickly as MaNA tries to make sure that there are no way the hedgehogs ever get out, surrounding on both sides. But the hedgehogs, they're fighting back pretty well. Granted, a lot of these things would go down anyways, and it's good that Fiends are dying. Not, of course. It's good that Fiends are dying, not the imps. So the third base, it's down. It will go back up once again, and Kiwian loses his third base as well. They're back on two bases. This is one of the ways that secluded Grove can go pretty quickly, because there are two pushing lanes, and it can be a little hard to keep track of your opponent, especially in games like this where it has been so kind of back and forth. And we're going to see, well, the Saw Blade charge, the Buzzsaw Cannon goes down very quickly, and Overcharge is popped. But again, MaNA, despite losing his third base, he didn't lose a ton of imps, and he did more damage on the other side because, again, Kiwian's army was not together. And the problem with Bio is that it's not the strongest in straight-up fights, not until you hit some critical mass. And it's really, Kiwian wasn't there yet, so more supply depots, or habitats, there we go. More habitats are going to go down. So certainly this is a two-base Vanguard for quite a while, and now looking for the surround, getting on top of the Vulcan, getting on top of these Lancers. Even if all the imps go down, you consider it worthwhile. He knocked that down. It will fall. And here come more imps across the map, looking for the swarm, looking for the end of the game, as hedgehogs are going to try to get just rallied out as much as they can. Lancers, they don't have their upgrades again. They're not going to fall, or they will fall, and they're not getting tankier. They're not attacking faster. So certainly here, this is a bit of a problem as more Lancers will continue to die. And the game will go on, certainly. But that was a lot of value that MaNA just found. So now MaNA has been broken back. He has been beaten back, so third base back up for Kiwian once again. The really the nice value of that power build, but now we have Gaunts. They look like, yeah, they've got their upgrade, and well, with Magmadon here as well, this is going to be a pretty hard third base to take. So Lancers are here at the start, and yeah, they've got their upgrade as well. So they have a kinetic redirection, which means that they will last a little bit longer. Now they're getting on top. These Fiends are going to get dropped once again, but the Vulcan is here, and that's a lot of splash damage available. Vulcan getting massive here. Infest gets dropped on top of the Bobs, and they don't have an overcharge available, so a lot of Fiends are about to get spawned once all the Bobs fall. But this Vulcan standing so freaking strong, but it will fall down eventually. Now the snowball starts. The Fiends start to arrive in this third base. It will get broken. We didn't, just not enough time. While Kiwian got his third base up once again, he wasn't able to really establish the defenses that he needed. And the second time in this game, we're going to see the command post fall down. We're going to see MaNA. Again, I don't know that he can break the Buzzsaw cannon with the habitats in front of it and overcharge. I don't know that he can break this natural. But certainly he can contain. He can get his fourth base. He's going to have that Mortharium. And honestly, with the map control he has right now, he can be the first to the secluded grove. The eponymous? The position that gives the map, the base that give the map its name is the habitat is slowly going down. There we go. That will fall. Another Vulcan out though. That should force MaNA back for the time being, as his wave is on the beach. Otherwise, we take a look at this. 266 Animus. Now, 500 Animus unlocks the Flayed Dragon in the current build. So, of course, that's something we're going to be looking at. Does MaNA go for something like that? Does he feel the need to... Is he going to save up for the game ender and the Flayed Dragon, or is he just going to keep spending his energy on Infest? Oh, that's a beautiful one. So many Bobs here, but they don't have overcharge, so they will. Again, we're going to start to see that snowball eventually. We're going to see all the Fiends start to spawn, you would assume, but, well, actually overcharge in range. But Kiwian, he's dead anyways. It's just not enough. MaNA takes the 2-1 in this series. Waves and waves and waves of Infernal energy crashing down against our Vanguard player.